and so there's a lot on that plate, but we have 2 county reps here. And I think whether you get on a committee, I don't think it matters. As the champion, you can knock on doors, you can make phone calls, you two work together to make stuff happen, but you become the single point of accountability, and that will determine the credibility that this activity has, especially with a committee, and I'm going to talk to a little bit later about single point of accountability, but I think it's a brilliant recommendation because it does give you the opportunity, or the deputy the opportunity, to take a lead role in that, and I think that's what municipalities often want, our champions. So, yeah, and it helps you two to work together. So I think it's brilliant.
Okay.
Carry on.
Recommendation 4A. The deputy mayor shall attempt to be appointed to relevant economic development boards and committees at the county level. And I said attempt, but that's basically what you're saying.
Go on for work.
Recommendation 5, this is where we need staff now, because we were talking through our recommendations, and when it came down to how the formation budgets and everything, we figured it would be best if we get staff report from the chief clerk's office. So, recommendation 5, that a staff report through the chief clerk's office be submitted to council regarding the permanent budget allocation for the EDC. The staff report is to include honorariums, administration, conferences, supplies, marketing, and promotional tools, mileage, and any other costs that should be considered. And these are things that we want to have in there now. What kind of honorariums? Some people are worried that people are going to do this to get rich off of or whatever. I don't think it would. But I think that the person or the office that has the most knowledge about this is the chief clerk's office, so we kept away from recommendations and how we go about that.
We just heard the chief.
I'll watch it.
Why don't we just call the?
Your company would.
It's the chief cook in the army.
Yeah. And recommendation 6 came after a final discussion. We were talking about we wanted people to be able to know, so we need the chief clerk's office to provide some more information as well for the EDC, just to give them the base work so they can start off with what they can and cannot do. So the recommendation states, 6, that the chief clerk.
We had $30,000 in the budget for this year, did we not? Economic development.
I think it was 20. I'm not sure. We kept it down as low as
Yeah.
possible.
There was 30 for a committee secretary period, and
Oh.
specific to economic development. Is that
Okay.
right?
We kept it pretty low there. So.
Okay.
Recommendation 6, that the chief clerk's office provides a briefing package outlining opportunities and restrictions with regards to the Municipal Act and the Lands Insurance bylaws affecting the UDC. So if they're going to come up with recommendations saying we recommend this and this and this, and I'm sorry, that's against the Municipal Act, they should know what we can and cannot do it where we can.
So that would be in terms of reference.
Yeah.
Same with all our other committees.
So that set of recommendations was how to start an EDC and how to move forward so we actually have these people on the ground. And the next set of recommendations is what we recommend that we start with.
Just a quick question on the composition. I'm just adding it up. I just wondering how you came to 6 private citizens. It adds up to 8, and you can have
That was
issues
my
with,
point.
with even numbers. I'm wondering, would you add one more and just make it a council? So one rep from each
We
ward?
discussed that as well. The last thing we wanted to do was create another council.
Okay.
So we don't want people from areas, we want people who are the most qualified to do the job. And if we have an economic development committee that's going to be 50-50, well, they have to go back and keep going until we actually get somewhere. Because if you have an economic development committee that is so split down the middle, then it won't be able to function anymore.
Well, they're going to have to abide by our bylaws, so any
Well,
tied vote is a defeat.
Exactly, and they're there, but they're there to work through, right? This is a different way of looking at it. This isn't a council. This is actually a service, right? Service, what do we call it? Service board, in effect, right? Basically, and we're going there to find expertise to answer questions that we have. We'll see how it works out.
Why 6? Why 6? Sorry, what was the thinking behind 6?
Well, 7 was too many, 5 wasn't enough, and basically we went up and down, up and down. If people were away, it was a consensus of the group. We went up and down. There was all sorts of how many.
Well, first it was 12, then it was
Then it was 6,
3, and then it was
3.
yeah.
But 6 seemed to be a good way to go because you can always hopefully get enough people to have quorum.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did the committee, and I should have been to more of the meeting, did the committee ever discuss hiring instead of committee, hiring an economic development officer. Many municipalities hire economic development officer, that one person, that's their job, that's for the whole thing. We're putting money in the budget to deal with this.
Yes. That was outside our mandate. We looked at that and we were thinking about that, but our mandate was how to set up an economic development committee. Now, the economic development committee, when they are formed in formation, when you guys, you're gonna be on it, decide how it goes. If that's a recommendation that comes from the economic development committee, then that can be forwarded to council and then we'll discuss that thing. We didn't want to jump way ahead. We wanted to make sure you guys are gonna sit down, see all the facts, figures, have discussion, and then come up with good recommendations for council. Our mandate was the creation and how to create an economic development committee. So we do want to step outside.
Councilor Russ?
Just we'll go back to, we were on recommendation 6 here, and you were talking about the municipal act and the Lambton Shores bylaws. Just something just to make a note of. I do know that there's quite a few bylaws that came from other municipalities as part of your research, correct?
Well, no, not really. We haven't looked at what other people were doing.
But you didn't look at any of their EDC bylaws?
Not too much, no. That's for the EDC to do.
Okay.
Right?
Just
That's outside of our mandate as well. Like, we did as much as we could.
I
As far as
understand that. I didn't know because
we didn't want to step over and continue to come back to amend our mandate.
I was just going to say, we just added that there are just 10 samples of existing EDC bylaws, because I do know I passed 6 on you, Lori, that were pretty good ones.
But
All I'm
again,
saying is in the municipal world, there's no use reinventing
No,
the
no,
wheel in
absolutely.
a structural sense, because the structure is pretty well into the municipal.
But you're jumping ahead a bit, I
Is
think,
it?
because we have to form the economic development committee first, and the first thing they're gonna be asking themselves is, well, what is out there?
Well, I'm back behind before that. I'm before that. I'm at the clerk. I'm
What, clerk?
playing at the clerk here.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this, go to your point just a minute ago. One of the things I've been dealing with the clerk the last 2 years is that the clerk's word should go.
Mhm.
That's why she's the clerk. And part of that is the terms of reference for the committees and that, and I know we tried our best with the trails to work it along and try to get to that point. And I think in a similar sense here, that information should, and then it would back up what you're saying, the municipal act, land church bylaw, blah, blah, blah. She could say sample bylaws that meet the requirements of the municipal act. It's a good starting point. In other words, you go to the knowledge source. That's all I'm saying.
But again, I'm sorry.
So sorry, yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that, and I absolutely, I appreciate what I see here. This is excellent. I think you've gone the right direction with this. I do have a curiosity though, whether there is value in council, independent of the economic task force, it's not economic development task force, to actually also create a position of an economic development officer in conjunction with this committee. Because I see this committee as an advisory committee that's a source of ideas, a source of impetus, a source of support, and catalyst for change that the officer is implementing on the ground. Like I see them as, the officer as the person who's going out and asking companies or targeting different things or sending letters or going to the events or conferences as opposed to the committee itself.
Yeah.
And so is there not value in us doing this simultaneously, bringing them both? Obviously your task force is going to be has created the framework and the mandate for the advisory committee, but can we not do them both and then move it ahead more quickly because we have all components there ready for us to go? That's kind of my vision. I think it would just surge ahead if we had those two components both.
There is a reason. Yeah, there is a reason why we did this, was to slow it down for that very reason. Because everybody wants to, we're all action people. Everybody wants to get things done quickly. We need to have recommendations. Let's look at the timeline. Okay, say we get an economic development committee by the end of February. You guys have your first couple of meetings, you create a constitution. I haven't got there yet, right? The constitution, people read up on what's going on, they work out the rules of EDC, then you start looking at what you want to do. If at that time you decide, right, this is a good way to go, that's a good recommendation to bring to council, and then we can look for it. Then we have to go out, we look for somebody, we decide, you guys come up with recommendations of what kind of qualifications this economic development person has. This is a good task for the economic development committee. What qualifications are we looking for? What direction, what skill sets are we looking for in an officer for economic development? Versus us coming out and just doing it right